Okay. Welcome to the Panic Button. I'm Nina.
I'm Jessie.
Today we're continuing on with our reaction to the transports debate between Destiny.
Transports debate, not a transport debate.
Between Destiny and this other streamer.
Here, I just wanted to understand your position better.
When you look at the history of things like video games, you look at the history of things like chess, it seems like men are way more competitive in these arenas than women are, such that women are not competitive at the highest levels. It might be the
So
case
do you think that
maybe it's all
might be social pressure?
But it could be.
Am I-
But if you eliminate all the women's spaces for them right now, then women just disappear. They cease to exist in these spaces.
I don't think women's. I don't think so. I think that if you eliminate women's spaces there, I think a lot of the socialization, a lot of that social pressure. I think it even mitigates some of the social pressure in things like chess, for example, where the women players who are like obviously women on average have higher IQs. I don't think it's unlikely that women players will still be competing in chess and even doing so more so now that they're not viewed as like second class chess players, for example.
Women can go and compete with men right now if they.
No,
I hate how often he says the words women and second class or women and what do you say, degrading doesn't mean the same. I've never felt like the word woman on any title makes it less important. I don't know where you're getting this from. Is it just because you don't care about women? Because that's a personal perspective that not the entire world shares. You know how many people like watching really fit girls run around? So many. Just because you don't doesn't mean we're the weird ones, okay? You're the one with the problem here. You have no respect for women. And you don't even like watching them bounce across fields. What's wrong with you?
I agree.
In any
good
sport,
thing.
women could do this.
Oh, I agree. But in the case of like things like women's FIDE Master and like these specific women's only leagues in chess, I don't think they do any good. I think they do harm.
So, but all the women that are getting any recognition or doing anything there would just cease to exist in your world. They would go compete with men. They'd lose to middling, like not even grandmasters, and then they'd just be done.
No, I don't think they'd be just done. I think that women would still be competing in chess. Like you said, they already do compete. They do compete with men. Yes, they do.
My understanding is that at the highest levels of chess, when you're talking about like grandmasters and stuff, it's almost impossible for women to be competitive at these levels.
But in chess specifically, we could take a look at the highest rated women, and they do get attention. They do get they do get sponsorships. And the biological advantages that you might say men have, I don't think they're significant enough to warrant something like women's FIDE Master existing, right? Where we give women this like lower ranking, where we pretend it's the same as the higher ranking, and everyone sort of acknowledges that it's worse, right?
I don't think.
Talk about saying the quiet part out loud. In his head, he looks at women as lower.
As worse. As lower people, like what do they call that system in India?
Caste,
I think it's what it's called, where there's like the untouchables.
Yeah.
That's what women are to him. And then he's this elite class. What is this? What is this about women being degrading in your title? Because as far as I'm concerned, it's separated by gender. If not, it'd be homo sapien of the fucking year.
Oh, he
it
says
that we're lower.
We're pretending that women.
That women are even good at anything.
It seems like he's the one pretending that women are good at stuff, when really inside he's thinking, well, women are like second class to men, athletic-wise, so why should we even have them in sports?
Isn't that negating his previous argument of, no, there'll still be some women competing?
Yeah, it does.
Because he's saying that women just aren't any good at it. The title of woman alone means that you're bad at it, so why are we even letting you compete?
Depends that it's the same, but...
Well, the naming is kind of the same. So women's FIDE Master versus FIDE Master, women's IM versus IM, right? It's like the women version of the normal rank. Yeah, but isn't it kind of, don't you think it's like, do you think it really helps women socially to have the, like a shitty version of the title called like the women's version?
Do you think that when men hear women's boxing champion, they're like, she's a woman though?
So
like, what is it?
Shitty boxing is what he's saying.
Right, shitty boxing. Or a women's MMA fighting champion.
I love watching women's MMA.
It's
I like
great.
watching MMA.
We watch it every time.
Every time it's on. Any UFC, any fight night, we're there.
On it. However, are you saying that those women don't matter? Are you saying that those women didn't get their faces pummeled in and they didn't exert every bit of physical energy they could to defeat another woman? Are you saying that doesn't matter?
This sounds like it.
Because she's a woman, they just pulled a little hair.
Like peasants. Women are peasants.
It's like disgusting to him. It's just so confusing.
Wholesale reject this argument. I think it's ridiculous that we would even dream of eliminating the category of women's sports on the hope that in the future, maybe it inspires more women because now they can be ranked 600 in open divisions.
It's just like a straw man. I don't know why you're not
That's
engaging
what
with the
you
argument.
just said. Hold on. Whoa. Hold on. I'll restate everything you said and tell me when I mess up.
Sure, yeah.
You're saying that if we get rid of female divisions and we have open competitions, that women that are way down in the ranks, just because they're women, will still be getting sponsorships because they'll be the highest women ranked in those sports. And that in our transition towards a more kind of like genderless idea of sports, we will still have women competing even more now because they're not being shackled by the silliness of all women's divisions.
I don't think I ever said that women would be competing more. I think I almost said the inverse several times. That I think it's understandable that some women won't be playing the sports.
Okay, you're dead wrong. What you've told me multiple times is that there might be a lot of social factors keeping women from competing, and you've alluded to the idea that women don't care about all women's titles, and that's why you've said if we get rid of
I haven't alluded to that idea. I think there are women who do. You point out the athletes who do. I just don't think this is enough to warrant the existence of these titles.
So every female sport, nobody cares enough to let them have that title.
What?
That's what he's saying. So Destiny's arguing that he's saying that more women will want to compete. And he's saying, no. Less women will want to compete. He's agreeing to that.
Yeah. So what's his argument then? I don't understand.
Despite the fact that there are women champions and there are more than enough women competitors, he doesn't feel like there's enough to warrant it.
There's not enough to warrant
having a title of women's champion of anything.
By that argument, can't you use the same thing against trans women?
Exactly. There aren't enough to warrant just letting them in.
Completely trashed his argument.
Or not having their own group. I mean...
You just proved yourself wrong.
But the problem with this individual here, this man, is that he would rather respect the feelings of more men, biological men, trans women, than a single woman to ever cross his path. He would rather make sure that every trans woman's gets sucked than have one single woman be called champion of anything.
Well, that sounds...
Am I wrong?
Horrifying. I don't want to think about it.
But am I wrong?
What?
Am I wrong?
That's what progressives do. They find the people who seem the most oppressed and they fight for them regardless of the logic behind it.
He's fighting for them because they're men.
That's what I think it comes down to.
It's clear based on his arguments that he's saying men are more physically apt. So why are we restricting someone who's male biology from competing?
This is undercover misogyny. They're misogynists undercover.
Undercover misogynist.
Because I think it provides more social harms across the entirety of society.
Okay, so then I'll give you a chance to clarify then. So then do you think it's possible that by doing what you're suggesting, we have less women competing in sports?
I think it's absolutely absolutely a possibility that less women might compete in sports. I just don't think it's enough to justify keeping trans women out.
What does that mean enough? Let's say 20% less women compete in sports now. Is that a worthy trade-off for you?
I don't imagine that the social benefits would be outweighing it at 20%. I think it's not likely to be the case that 20% get pushed out by the small group of 0.3% of the population going into sports. I don't think it's likely.
We're not talking about them being pushed out because of trans people in the sports. We're talking about them being pushed out because you eliminated women's sports. Because that's just
you are talking about them being pushed out because of trans people in the sports. You said that trans women being in the sports would push out cis women. Yes, you did. Yeah, you did.
I'm working in I'm working in your hypothetical. You told me that your goal was to eliminate these women's sports and have everybody competing in the same category.
Long term, I think it'd be good to do, but right now, I think the categories allowing trans women in them is fine. And I think that you seem to not think the categories as they exist now is fine. You want trans women out of sports entirely. And
okay, we're moving away from your whatever thing you gave earlier then about having open division. So we're not going to talk now about having everybody competing in the same division. Now we're going to talk about women's sports.
And I think a long-term future goal is reasonable to have open divisions, right?
Okay, so I think it's fair to talk about yours too, right? It was possible that less women would be competing overall, and you said, yeah, that's possible. And I was like, okay, well, how many less would make it worth the trade-off of having no women's sports? Let's say 20.
Okay, so I understand your argument now. If we're talking about the long distance, women will be pushed out of sports. Yeah, I think totally within I don't know, 80 years down the line or whatever. If women are playing sports 20% less, I think the social benefits of not having those categories would easily outweigh that. Yeah.
What would be the social benefits of getting rid of gender in sports?
The genderless society he wants.
But what's the benefit of that?
Apparently, being a woman is a degrading thing, which is crazy to me because he's non-binary, right?
Oh, so he wants everyone to conform to
his non-binary world.
Yeah, to who he is. Well, God, that sounds like someone in a cult.
That's what the genderless society is that he's dreaming of here. Except for the fact that despite being a genderless society, he knows and we know that men will be the priority. Clearly, listen to him speak. Come on. Just tell us you want The Handmaid's Tale to be real and we'll accept it. But be honest with us. Because right now, you're just dancing around the topic of the fact that you want men to control everything.
That's what it comes down to. He just wants biological men
Yes.
to run the world.
Despite knowing that,
But
he's labeling himself as non-binary and thinks that that's how every man feels.
But he thinks if we get rid of gender, then there will be no gender oppression. But regardless if in society we get rid of gender, biology doesn't give a shit about our societal rules. And biology is going to rule over anything in society.
Are you going to call...
Any kind of push in society. Men are still going to be stronger. Men are still going to be bigger. Men are still going to be taller. It doesn't matter what society pushes for. Science wins.
Are you going to call biology sexist and oppressive? Because you can, but it's the way of the world. I mean, come on, guys.
Get with it. Wake up.
Why is that wrong?
I'm going to do a little bit of in-pole optics here, but like you as a cis man is saying that women's sports are harmful.
No,
enough
you're
to society that if
mistaken.
we-
Well, firstly, you're mistaken.
I know
on
I
the
am.
optics.
I'm doing an in-pole argument. I don't care if you're not.
Yeah,
are you?
He has to be able to finish his sentences. So, Destiny.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Are you a trans woman or something? Did I miss?
Yeah. You just missed an identity or whatever there. I'm like, yeah, I am non-binary, but it's kind of irrelevant.
Cis presenting, I think, as our fellow in-polers would say.
It doesn't matter, but I'm going to stop and tell you that you're wrong.
Even though I present as a cis man.
It doesn't matter, but it matters. It doesn't matter, but I put my pronouns in all my bios. It doesn't matter, but I start with hi, my pronouns are they, them. But it doesn't matter.
Leaves you with a bad taste in your mouth.
I think the id-pole argument is not really relevant,
well,
right?
ditch the id-pole.
You could
The
address my
idea
point,
of
not just
eliminating
personal
all of
attacks.
the idea of it's personal to a certain group of people, right? Like this would be like the equivalent of me like telling
Yeah,
you,
but
like,
doesn't
bro,
justify
don't-
a personal attack in lieu of a counter argument, does
I'm
it?
not doing a personal attack. I'm saying that the optics of this is like can be largely driven by men.
You were
a lot
doing a
of people-
personal attack. You don't have to lie about it.
Okay.
That's fine. I'll just ignore it.
It's not a personal attack. I understand you don't care about any of the identities at stake because you're not threatened. But that's fine. I understand. Listen, I'm a white guy. I feel similarly to that in a lot of other cases, okay?
I love that. I get it because you're actually a white guy, so you're really not threatened by anything because you've taken the identity of non-binary so that people don't look at you like a white guy. So you're not threatened. But realistically, you're a white guy saying women should be eliminated from sports altogether. We should just have divisions. Who cares if they're 900th?
Doesn't make no sense.
Crazy.
No.
The idea of eliminating women's sports because it supposedly has some positive blowback in the rest of society is insane. I couldn't imagine making that argument in public. Like, that just seems crazy to me.
Why is it wrong?
Because one, it's a baseless claim. You have absolutely no evidence or can't point to anything that eliminating these women categories is somehow beneficial. This is going to be 100% philosophical.
Oh, I can. Yeah, if you ask for the evidence, so we could talk about like the ways we could abduct, right? Or the ways we can induct from the other examples we have of like removing the segregations within a sport and seeing social benefits because of that.
Cis women's sports, why not let weak men into women's sports?
I think the reason that somebody who wants to keep these categories might want to would like give as like a permanent reason would be that in the case of like women, right, they are pushed out of sports culturally, and so it's good to keep these categories in there because of the fact that there's a social pressure against women competing. So making sure that women, people who are disproportionately not allowed to compete as much, are able to go in and compete, I think is a fine reason. I just don't think that like long term this makes sense.
I'm not really sure what you just said.
I could clarify maybe. The question you asked, right, was why is it the case that
I didn't understand any of that either.
He's going to try and give it to you one more time.
Oh, God, no. Okay.
or why would we even keep the categories at all, right? Why is it the case that we'd have like the men and women's leagues at all? Why not let men who are just like weak men compete in women's sports? I'm saying the reason is because those weak men might not be pushed against sports, but might be pushed in favor of them, is the argument somebody might give, right? Somebody who supports
So,
I'm ready.
weak men.
Yeah.
Why don't we let them into sports?
Into women's sports.
Right. Well, because men are pushed to do sports, right? So the weak men, they don't have a chance unless it's against women. However, women aren't pushed to do sports. So we shouldn't
I'm waiting.
we shouldn't be concerned about letting trans women in because women aren't even pushed into doing sports because they don't even matter. They're just doing it for fun. That's what he's saying.
Oh my God, that is one of the worst arguments I've probably ever heard in my life, and the most confusing as well. I don't think that makes any bit of sense.
You want to hear how he finishes it up?
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Keeping these leagues.
I don't understand. The weak men might be pushed in favor of the sports than.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
Now that I understand the part where we're having trouble, I think weak men will still be told like, "Hey, you're a man, go play sports," right? Whereas like trans women won't, right? Weak men will be told, "You're a man, go play sports, go to the sports where they're men." A trans woman, obviously, there's some cases where they are going to be told that they're a man and they need to go play sports, but I think a lot of them are pushed away from sports, whereas like weak men are still pushed towards sports. I think that's a reasonable like symmetry breaker here, right?
What the hell does that have to do with anything? I don't understand what that has to do.
Because now,
That's
now trans women
And that's
are
not e-
more oppressed than regular women. So since the title of women's sports is just a little badge to say you competed, congratulations, what's the difference? They're now the oppressed group. So let's make women's sports, instead of women's sports, oppression sports.
This is all just based on his view of the world.
Yes.
This isn't based on reality.
It's also who's the weakest, who's the most oppressed, because they should have the little pat on the back. Oh my God, you did something, trophy.
I know he's trying to like generalize, but there are other reasons why women go into sports.
Yeah.
Aside from whatever he thinks. And there are a lot of reasons why men go into sports aside from the reasons he's giving, which are
Right.
I don't even know what to do with this guy.
It's not someone being told to go do sports. You could never be told to do sports, but you could have a knack for it. And you could go into it and have a great time and succeed. And the fact that he's using women as an equivalent term to disabled or the oppressed group, that is ridiculous to me. The word woman doesn't mean oppressed.
Are you done being angry?
No.
I don't understand, like, the weak men are pushed towards sports. It sounds like you have, like, this...
Yeah.
You think that there's, like, this hyper-tradcon view of society where, like, men are pushed to be, like, warrior sports people and women are pushed
I don't think it's that unreasonable to say like men are pushed towards competing in certain fields and like women are pushed against it, right? You had granted the idea that like the social differences like push and pull these people up.
Who's ever said, you're a girl, you can't play sports? You can't play softball or volleyball or go cheerlead or play soccer. You're a girl. What the fuck is that?
That's his view of the world. That's all.
Who raised a kid like that?
I don't want to meet the people that have.
Is this the 1920s? Am I losing my goddamn mind here? Girls don't play tennis. What?
Whoa. You gotta bring down that volume a little
I'm
bit.
sorry. I'm upset by this man.
Maybe
Like,
our
goes
lived
against your argument.
experiences are, like, super different, but, like...
Lived experiences, please don't like stop with the id pulse. The lived experience.
I'm not
don't
doing.
matter,
Hold
right?
on. I'm not doing. Hold on. I'm trying really hard not to call you a retard, okay? Because everything you're saying is like flies in the face of everything that I grew up experiencing.
Sure.
Okay, and all the private girls' schools that were near me, like you had to take a sport in your first 2 years. It wasn't like even an option. Like you were forced into sports when you were a woman. And across all the schooling that I did, women were heavily pushed. Now usually it was like things like soccer, but every woman that I knew in my grade school classes, and then every woman in the all girls high schools were always like hardcore pushed to doing sports all the time. It's really
Wait. So if girls aren't pushed into doing sports, did you not have like a girls' gym class in school? Like what did girls do instead of gym? I'm so concerned because wasn't gym for you usually just like playing sports?
We usually had to stretch, work out, and then do some sort of physical activity.
Yeah, but you did like sports units, right? Like you do some
Yeah,
kind
we
of
did a-
football,
yeah,
you
we
do
did a
some
lot
kind
of all
soccer,
that stuff, yeah.
Hockey, if like field hockey, if not, yeah.
Yeah, we had to do all those sports. Yeah, at some point in gym class.
We did too. We had there were units, and it'd be like, okay, next week we start football, next week we start whatever, you know. What was your experience like in gym class in school? What the fuck? Are we not
I
gonna
don't
have
know.
girls?
Maybe he was homeschooled.
Are we not gonna have girls in gym class? Oh, no wonder he doesn't fucking know what happens in gyms.
In gym class.
Like what the fuck?
No, I get it.
You never-
extracurricular sports. This idea that you're talking, and this isn't Catholic
Okay.
schools. So this idea that you're talking about, where like, oh, women are pushed against schools. It sounds like this, like it sounds like this fantasy version of like Alabama, where like women are told like, oh no, like go do home ec, don't do.
I don't think it's.
sports.
I don't know. Fantasy. I think that
I'm trying to tell- I'm
It's
trying to
really.
en-
It's
I'm trying
really
to engage-
weirdly
hold on. I'm trying to
Go
engage
ahead,
with
go
you
ahead.
as hard. I'm
Yeah,
trying to
let him
engage you as well as I can.
finish.
I'm trying to engage you as well as I can, but like you're giving me this world that I never saw growing up ever. And I lived in Nebraska and I went to Catholic school. So I feel like if it did exist, I would have seen it there. Now maybe there are places in like Louisiana or Alabama where this is like way more hardcore, but I don't like it. Like if we were to look up the numbers, if you want to Google it right now, of like women that play high school sports and men that play high school sports, like do you think that these numbers are like dramatically off?
Did you know any kids in school that got a scholarship based on sports?
I think so.
Do you remember if they were men or women?
I know there was at least one girl.
I don't know a single person from my graduating class that got a scholarship except for a woman in soccer. She got a full paid scholarship. So tell me again how it doesn't matter. How they're not good at it. How they shouldn't play
he's
sports.
a very misogynistic view of the world.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But that's being in this bubble, an echo chamber of like-minded individuals who believe a certain way. You know, it's like a cult. You don't see what the outside world is doing because you're so invested in how you guys see the world.
Right.
And it's so warped.
And I very specifically remember my pre-calc, one of my pre-calc teachers got a scholarship for softball. And that's how she got her fucking degree. I don't understand how these men can say stuff like this and not acknowledge the amount of good that's come from women's sports.
It's just all negative until you let the biological men who think they're women into sports.
Ball or basketball. And then
I agree. They're pushed. Yeah, I don't think we're worried about like men competing in volleyball pushing out the women competitors, or men competing in cheerleading pushing out the women competitors. Do we?
Trans women might push out cis women in volleyball. Maybe.
Are you kidding me?
Insert
yes.
right now.
Yes.
Right now, insert that shot of the volleyball. Right here, right now.
Men are more powerful, so hitting the volleyball, they're going to be way more powerful. They're taller, so they'll be able to go over the net.
Spike it harder.
All that stuff. I didn't play volleyball, so forgive
both
me. But yeah, a dude is going to completely do way better in volleyball than a woman.
Trans women might push out cis women in volleyball, maybe. If that's the argument we're talking about, which is what we were talking about, was trans.
I don't think. Are we really worried about trans women like pushing out like the female cheerleaders?
Cheerleaders probably not, but in things like volleyball,
okay,
or soccer,
so the 44% we're talking about is largely going to be things like for example cheerleading, right? So it's not the argument. Doesn't really work for your argument, does it?
I don't know if that's true.
Oh my God! What the hell does he like? He sees the world like the most misogynistic man.
He was in the 1950s.
Oh my God! He really well, most girls just do cheerleading, and no, what the frick are you talking about?
Track and field. I did softball, and I did soccer. Never did I cheerlead.
Like, dude, this guy is. He's on a whole other level of lunacy. I just can't get on board with that.
How many cheerleading scholarships do you hear about?
I want to know where he lives.
I want to know what his life is like. Like, holy shit. Do you ever see a woman? Because if you treat a woman the way you're speaking about women, I'd punch you in the face.
I think he's just a gay dude.
I think he's never around a woman. And they think they're progressive. They think they're there to help women.
I know. Those are the worst ones. They do the most damage.
And they need a woman to literally sit there and go, really? Do you realize how fucked up that is? They really need to hear that.
Yes.
Do you think that most girls that do sports are just all doing cheerleading? Wait, can you repeat that for me? That was very funny.
Why? What is the? Okay, the argument you're making is just a wild straw man. I'm not saying that all. I don't. Whoa, can you stop with it? Stop with the smug thing. I'm just trying to. I'm just to answer you. Okay.
We don't have to do that. Understand.
I'm just trying to engage. Okay. Please hold on. Whoa. Just a second.
Okay, both of you take it easy.
Okay, my bad.
Synth, you go, and then Destiny, you go. Okay, go for it.
Sure. Yeah, no, I'm not saying that like every single person or every single woman who's competing in sports is doing it in cheerleading. I think that it's completely reasonable to say that there are some are going to be competing in volleyball. I just think that when we talk about that 44% number,
I'm not saying that all women do cheerleading. Some probably do volleyball.
It's like it gets worse as we go on.
No tennis, no softball. Motherfucker, softball. You know, the one thing that's not called women's baseball? Softball. Like, fucking A, man. None of it. Volleyball and cheerleading. That's all we're good at.
44% number, a large group of that, at least I would assume, is going to be like a large group of that is going to be sports that like men just don't compete in as much. They're going to be ones that we wouldn't say that like women are pushed away from.
So here's
be things like, for example, like cheerleading and volleyball.
So here's the top ones. It's
sure.
Track and field, volleyball, basketball, soccer, then softball.
Okay, things like track and field, I don't think women are being pushed too far out of in the same way that they would be like the average sport like football or something.
Yeah, the women probably aren't going to be playing football as much. I agree with you there, okay?
Sure, so we can agree they're pushed out of some sports, right?
They probably all just don't want to play.
I just want people to know that we're on the same page.
I don't know how much is just social.
I'm sure. Why do you think they don't want to play those sports as much?
Because they'll die. Are you kidding? Why don't women want to play football?
Because they're more contact.
You know, men who play football get CTE all the time.
Concussions like crazy, yeah.
So, why in God's name would a woman want to take a chance with her life by playing football? That's not being pushed out. That's just being smart. I honestly don't remember what I was saying.
Our camera keeps dying. Support our channel. Share this video with friends. Like it and comment. Ugh.
Okay, that's not going to work. Let me redo that for you. We're both very poor people.
I think that you're
My
going real
camera.
serious into this.
Overheats constantly. It's a Sony Alpha camera. It's quite expensive to get just the body of a camera. So we're going to need a little bit of financial assistance. Now, we're not victims.
I didn't even ask for financial assistance. Did you hear what I said? I said support the channel, like, comment, and share it.
Oh, but we don't even need financial assistance.
I didn't ask for it. I mean, we do, but I didn't ask for it.
We're not victims, and we'll work hard to get there ourselves. But but if you wouldn't mind liking and commenting below and sharing this video with your friends, family, and maybe someone you hate.
If I just find the nearest tranny, just start playing it.
We would really appreciate it.
It's your least favorite thing so far.
Okay, that's good enough.